Hi, this is Charlie Hesse from Tropical Birding, and welcome to this video trip report from my recent custom tour to Papua New Guinea. We don't offer a set departure to Papua New Guinea at the moment, but watch this space, we may start soon. We ran this tour as a custom tour, and it was specifically to look for New Guinea endemic bird families. Bird family listing is becoming an increasingly popular thing to do, and the place that we went is probably the best place on the island of New Guinea to get those endemics. This is a PDF that accompanies this video. It's got an itinerary and a full checklist of all the birds that we saw, including which ones were the New Guinea endemic families, so please check that out. As always, we'll start with a map to show you where the island of New Guinea is located. New Guinea is actually the second largest island in the world after Greenland. It's absolutely huge, and it's the most linguistically diverse place in the world with hundreds of languages. Absolutely fascinating wildlife, so a really exciting place to go. It's just north of Australia and east of Southeast Asia. New Guinea is split into two. The eastern half is an independent country. They celebrated last year their 50th anniversary of independence. The western side is called West Papua, and that is controlled by Indonesia. I've actually done a birding tour to West Papua, and we missed some of these endemic bird families. So PNG is arguably better for bird families than West Papua. But for a comprehensive tour, I think West Papua probably is still better. So please check out that tour. Got some fantastic birds, including a lot of birds of paradise. The capital of PNG is Port Moresby, which you can see down here at the bottom. And then that's the gateway to the country. We flew into the international airport in Port Moresby. It's pretty well connected. You can access it from a couple of different places in Australia, but then actually came down via Singapore and left via Hong Kong. So yeah, it's pretty well connected. We actually stayed very close to the airport, a place called the Airways Hotel, and it was fantastic. It was incredibly comfortable, really convenient, and it actually had some nice birding on the property as well. Very comfortable rooms, really delicious food in the restaurant, including some nice vegetarian food. And most importantly, some birding in the garden. So, often people come in a little bit early on tours, and yeah, it's very safe just to wander around the garden and pick up a few lifers. In the garden, as well as birds, they had some spectacled flying foxes, which were pretty cool. And bird-wise, we had the New Guinea subspecies of helmeted frybird, which is quite noisy. A lot of other nice birds like white-breasted wood swallows. Fawn-breasted bowbird was a cool one. Rainbow bee-eaters. Torresian imperial pigeons. So yeah, quite a few birds. I stayed here a couple of nights, and I had a full day to explore the area, and we visited the Varirata National Park, which is fairly close and has some absolutely fantastic birds. It's only about an hour's drive, probably less. And yeah, it's got some really amazing stuff. The first thing we saw was the Ragiana bird of paradise, the national bird, and it actually occurs on the country's flag. It was super easy to see. We drove right up to it and then got out of the car and looked up, and there they were displaying. It was a real treat and really one of the highlights of the trip for me. Some more footage of them display. I'll put the sound on a little bit for you. Very noisy birds, but just incredible. Another big target here was the brown-headed paradise kingfisher. Not quite as easy to see as the Ragiana's birds of paradise, but once we found it, it cooperated pretty well. Beautiful bird. We drove to an overlook where there was rather a nice view down to the coast. Around the edge of the clearing, we saw rufous-bellied kookaburras. We had coconut lorikeets here. And then we took a walk along a forest trail, which was very nice. We had blue-winged kookaburras along here. This is a bird that you can see in Australia as well. We got another bird of paradise, the growling riflebird, which was also a little bit tricky to find, but our local guide, Samson, did a really good job. And yet another bird of paradise called the crinkle-collared manocode. Not a real colourful one, but an interesting one nevertheless. One of my highlights of the day was to get a yellow-legged brush turkey. This actually took a little bit of work. Very hard to see. Often you hear them rather than see them. But yeah, we managed to call one across the trail and we got great views. At the end of the trail, we got to another clearing where there were some other nice birds. We had Papuan king parrot here, pink spotted fruit dove, hooded pitahui, kind of oriole, and lots of other nice things. This was a red-capped flower pecker. In the afternoon, we left the park, and on the way out, we stopped at some savanna-type habitats on the way out, which had a lot of very different birds. Here we had some more rainbow bee-eaters, really cool yellow-faced myna, and white-bellied cuckoo shrike. The next day, we flew from Port Moresby up into the highlands. It was a couple of hours flight. The flights in Papua New Guinea, and they've got a kind of bad reputation for cancellations and things like that, but this is actually the most reliable route. Yeah, so we actually had no problems on the way up there or the way down, which was quite nice. We arrived in Mount Hagen Airport, where we were picked up by a vehicle from the lodge, and we drove about an hour along a paved road to a place where we stayed for the next 5 nights called Kumul Lodge, which is probably the best place on New Guinea to see the New Guinea bird families. This was the plane that we took from Port Moresby. It's a large prop plane, 2 seats on either side. We kind of flew along the coast a little bit, some nice clouds, and then we headed up into the highlands. This is some of the habitat that we were flying over. You can see some of it is quite developed, some deforestation. We arrived in Mount Hagen Airport here and drove to Kumul Lodge in one of these vehicles. Kumul Lodge is quite rustic. It's a pretty basic lodge. There's private rooms with private bathrooms. Don't always get hot water. Sometimes if you're lucky you do. The food is very nice there, really hearty food. And the staff there are lovely. They're very, very friendly and very welcoming. There's fantastic feeders there. One of the cool things about Kumul Lodge, even get birds of paradise there. This is the brown sicklebill. And another cool one called a ribbon-tailed astrapia that has this very long white tail. There's some honey eaters there. This one's called Belford's melodectes, a very noisy honey eater, which you can hear all the time. And another common one is called a smoky honey eater. This was one of our New Guinea endemic families called the berrypeckers. This one is called fan-tailed berrypecker, which comes into the feeders. So that was an easy one to get. And a few of the common birds that we see are the feeders. This is the Papuan island thrush. Mammals in general in New Guinea are not very evident, but we were very lucky with this. This isn't a commonly seen animal. This is called Calaby's padamelon. It's like a little short, fat wallaby. And we saw this underneath the feeders. Very, very cool. And I got a little bit of footage of it feeding underneath there. Some of the wildlife that we saw, there was a lizard hanging around on the balcony there as well. Genus is Papua skincus, but no one really seems to know what species it is. Kumul Lodge also has a great network of trails, and in the afternoon when we arrived, we took a walk on the trails. This is the Regent Whistler, very beautiful bird that we came across. A few other kind of LBJs. This is the large scrub wren, which is pretty common there. And at night, the local guides found this mountain owlet nightjar just right behind the rooms. Very, very cool. From Kumul Lodge, you can take day trips to nearby birding sites. On the first full day, we drove to a place called Tomba Pass. Very, very close. It's like half an hour away, but you get some different birds there. This is one of the best places for families, Papuan families. So we started there. This was a big target for us called the blue-capped Ifrita. It's a monotypic family. There's only one species in it, and it kind of moves around on trunks like a nuthatch. This isn't a New Guinea endemic family, but Australo-Papuan family. It's shared with Australia, and these are the bellbirds. It's called the rufous-naped bellbird. We basically walked to a viewpoint where we spent a few hours, and we had, we got great views of a few nice species, one of which was the plum-faced lorikeet. Cool little bird that we saw down in the clearing below. It was a hooded manakin. We went back to the lodge for lunch, and in the afternoon again, we hit the trails. Our guide was called Max. There's actually two guides called Max, but the taller Max is crazy about orchids, and he took us down to an orchid garden at his house, which is within walking distance. And he took us on a little walk around that, and he was very proud of his orchids. He's spent, decades putting this place together, and it's just really, real pleasure to go around with him and be shown these orchids. So if you've got an interest in orchids, great place to go. This is one of the species that he was pointing out to us. The next day, we were back at the Tomba Pass, and we saw another Astrapia. You can see this one has got quite a bit of black in the tail, but they're thought to hybridize with a black-tailed Astrapia called Stephanie's Astrapia. And there's like a hybrid zone, so this may well be a hybrid. Here's some footage of the Astrapia hopping around. I mean, absolutely gorgeous birds. Just these kind of metallic green on the head, and this just amazing long tail. Very, very cool. The most famous bird to see at Tomba Pass is the King of Saxony bird of paradise. This is one of my most wanted birds in the world. It's quite small for a bird of paradise, but it has these very long feathers coming out of its head, which it uses during its courtship. Really, really special bird, and this is one of the best places to see it. We got another endemic New Guinea family, the tit berrypecker, which we saw pretty well. Looks like a sort of colourful great tit. A few nice parrots as well. This is a yellow-billed lorikeet. And something called a tiger parrot. This is one of the rarer tiger parrots called the Madaratz's tiger parrot. And plenty of honeyeaters. This is the rufous-backed honeyeater. One afternoon, we were still missing one or two families, and there was another good spot for them called Magic Mountain. And we were especially looking for the mottled berry hunter, but this is one of the best spots for that. Very beautiful place, bit of a steep climb, but a really nice view over the valley. You can see the steep trail here with Max down there. Got great views of pure Stephanie's Astrapias. And we also got brief views of mottled berry hunter. The birding on New Guinea is not easy, really isn't easy. And the birds don't always play ball. But yeah, we finally got brief views of mottled berry hunter. Another site that we visited is the other way along the main road from Kumul Lodge to a place called Tonga. This is a little bit lower elevation, and there's a bit more habitat loss around here. You can see a lot of it's being cleared, but there is a bit of forest on this hillside here, and it has a very famous resident, which is the blue bird of paradise. You stand at a viewpoint here and you scan up slope with a scope. This was birding focused. It wasn't a photography tour. So some of the things were at distance, but yeah, we were looking for the bluebird of paradise, up this slope. One of the other birds is another bird of paradise called the greater Lofarina. It used to be called the superb bird of paradise, but you can see these crazy feathers that it has, on its neck. And in the breeding display, they sort of lift them over their head and then kind of jump up and down like a little space invader. I mean, they're absolutely incredible. But we got decent views of the greater Lofarina preening. On the first day, I actually reached an important milestone for bird listing. I got 8,000 species, and this was my 8,000th species, called a marbled honeyeater. You don't always... I really wanted it to be the blue bird of paradise, but we missed it the first day. It didn't show up. So I ended up with this bird. On the way back, we stopped at a stream where we got the torrent fly robin. In the afternoon, we did a bit more birding on the property. Most afternoons, we kind of hung around the lodge and we birded around there. But yeah, we saw white-winged robin, pretty common around there. We got more good views of brown sicklebill. And we spent some more time with the feeders, seeing smoky honeyeaters. This is how they are normally, with a yellow wattle on their face. And when they get excited, they kind of flushes pink or red, which is quite cool. I showed you a tiger parrot before, but this is a common tiger parrot at Cummal Lodge called the Braham's tiger parrot. Max took us for another walk along the trails there. Really, really lush, full of pandanus. Took us to a viewpoint there where we're looking across. Really, really beautiful place. We picked up 1 or 2 new birds, including this brown-backed whistler. And more great views of blue-capped ifritas, really one of my favorite birds of the trip. This is another important family, not a New Guinea endemic family, but another Australo-Papuan family, which is shared with Australia. This is called the black-breasted boatbill. The next day, we were back at Tonga, and today we found the blue bird of paradise. This is a little bit distant. In the middle there, you can see a bird, a black bird. That is the blue bird of paradise. I did finally get a photo of the blue bird of paradise, a little bit distant. It does seem that there's now some places where you can take pictures of them a little bit closer, including even display sites. It may be that there's opportunities for photographers in the area as well. We were just birding, so we were happy with our scope views. Some other cool birds that we hadn't seen in the other places. This is the yellow-billed Melodectes and the red-capped flowerpecker. The local people buy the viewpoint there. They actually they make some local products. This one is a kind of bag that the ladies use there. So yeah, one of the clients bought one of these bags, which is quite cool. Nice to support the community. Back at the lodge again, we did some more birding, saw friendly fantails, which are quite cool. And I really wanted to see this animal called the speckled dasyure. It's a weird kind of like squirrel type thing. It's actually a carnivore with a little pointy nose and yeah, this kind of speckled fur. But yeah, quite a cool animal. One of the families we were looking for were the satin birds. We saw them briefly on the first day, but we really wanted to get better views, and we kept on persevering in the afternoons, and finally we managed to get photos of them. This is a female here, and this is a male with a black front. So yeah, that was another one of the endemic New Guinea families. From Cummal Lodge, on the final morning, we drove back to Mount Hagen Airport, where we said goodbye to our wonderful guide, Max, hoping to see him again next time. Very cool guy. And then from Mount Hagen, we flew all the way back to Port Moresby, where we finished the trip. Wonderful trip, just over a week long, and just a fantastic introduction to the amazing island of New Guinea. If you're interested in bird families, it's a bit of a no-brainer. You must go there. But also, if you want to just have a short trip and experience New Guinea, see some birds of paradise, it's also quite a suitable trip. I'll finish by showing you my eBird trip report. With the combination of Varirata National Park and the Cummal area, I saw 124. It's not a huge number, but it's definitely quality rather than quantity. Managed to photograph 72 birds, which is well over half, so that's quite cool. This was more of a birding focused tour, but I think there are opportunities for photography of some of the very special birds in that area. Anyway, that was my short Papua New Guinea custom tour. Hope you enjoyed it, and let us know if you're interested in joining one of these trips in the future. Thanks for joining me on this video trip report. I hope you enjoyed it, and catch you next time. All the best.